Good afternoon. I want to thank the organizers of this meeting for inviting me. I've been 5 times to Portugal, but never to Algarve, so it's a nice change for me to see this. I am not a geneticist, but I've been fortunate to work with people who know a lot about genetics, and therefore what I try to do is not go into all the details of genetics, but explain the practical applications in such a way that I can understand it, and if I can understand it, then I'm sure you'll be able to understand it. Just a definition so we're all on the same page. We talk about the genotype, which is in effect your basic background, in your basic genetic background, the sum of all your genes. Whereas the phenotype is how that genotype is expressed. So you have brown hair, you have a VO2 max of 50 ml per kilogram, you have a blood pressure of 120/80, that sort of thing. In general, the influence of genetic factors are stronger on structure and less so on function. And I'll give you a number of examples of that so you understand what I'm talking about. If we talk about linear measures, for example, as a high genetic effect, tall children come from tall families. Whereas when you start talking about circumferences, it's low to moderate. And the reason is that I can change the circumference of this muscle by lifting weights. I can change the circumference of my waist by eating less or eating more. So it's environment that has more of an effect than genetics per se. There's still a genetic effect, but it's not as high as in linear measures. Same thing with muscle. The size of the muscle and the composition of the fibers, whether fast twitch or slow twitch fibers, is quite high, and because of these two, the strength is very high. But endurance is not quite as high, and when you start talking about endurance in terms of the enzyme activity and providing energy and the density of mitochondria, it's much lower. Excuse me. Because, again, by training, I can increase the mitochondrial density and I can increase the enzyme activity. So it's environment versus genetics. If you look, too, at the lung, just the size and volume of the lung is quite high, but when you start talking about flow rates and function, it's less because I can change that by smoking, I can change that by a lot of other things. And the same thing with the heart size and the resting heart rate, which is related to the size of the heart and to some extent, and the structure of the coronary arteries is quite high, but when I get to blood pressure, it's lower because if I'm under stress or if I'm overweight,